So with that, we bring in the number 2
Thanks,
Senate Republican Minority Whip John Thune of South Dakota. Thank you to John Ratcliffe. And Senator Thune, welcome. It's good to have you with us today.
Thanks, Martha.
You know, it seems fair enough. And I'm thinking now about the reaction that is likely in the halls of Russia, in Putin's administration, or President Xi, as they chat about this with their own secretaries of defense, and whether or not they find this to be, you know, interesting and dumb, really, that the Secretary of Defense was not in contact with the White House for all of these days.
Right, and it reinforces a narrative out there among our adversaries, unfortunately among our friends too, Martha, that the United States is not paying attention to what's going on the global stage. I mean, we have troops at risk, national security interests at risk, and you have the top military official in this country and those around him out of commission and seemingly unaware of any of this, and the president doesn't know about it, Congress doesn't know about it. This is just incredibly reckless, and in terms of transparency, just utterly indefensible. And so obviously they're trying to do everything they can now to paper over this and talk about fixing it, but the truth of the matter is they never should have been in this position in the first place. And to me that shows a reckless inattention to what really matters when it comes to America's national security interests.
You know, it's interesting that we talk about the reaction in other administrations and leadership around the world, whether it's our friends or our allies. And I'm thinking about at the campaign appearance just the other day, President Biden talked about how he speaks with foreign leaders and how mistrustful they are of the former president, and how glad they are that President Biden is in charge now, how much it has improved those relationships. And I wonder what you think about that.
Well, I mean, what do you say to that? You can't, I mean, this administration, the withdrawal from Afghanistan, of course, started there. This is, you know, funding the military has not been a priority. We're constantly fighting with them over the levels of making sure that we are providing the necessary resources for our national security, vital national security requirements. You have what's, you know, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You've got what's happening in the Middle East and Iran flexing their muscles. You got China in the Indo-Pacific. These are all indications that the world, in particular our adversaries, view America's leadership, President Biden and those around him, as weak and people that they're able to manipulate on the world stage. And that should be concerning to every American, simply because if we don't get national security right, the rest is conversation. We have to defend the country, and it's incredibly troubling that that's the message that is being sent.
We're going to stay on this story that has been breaking out of the Defense Department, but I do want to just ask you before I let you go, Senator, the status of the funding bill that would include strengthening our southern border and also funding the wars in Ukraine and Israel. Where does that stand this afternoon?
Well, it's right. It's where you started, Martha. It's strengthening our southern border. If we can't get operational control of our border, we are putting our country and our people in grave danger. It's very clear that terrorists and criminals and cartels and gang members have all figured out how to get into this country. Just come to the southern border and walk across. It is so reckless and such a dereliction of duty, the way this administration has handled the southern border. And they'll come up here and say, well, it's a broken system, we need to fix it. Well, we're going to do some things on the Republican side to fix it, but they have all the authorities they need if they would simply enforce the law.
But we had heard that there were the contours of some kind of deal coming together, and then that there wasn't. Which is true? What's the case right now in terms of these negotiations, Senator?
There's been some really good progress made in meaningful, real, and serious border reforms, but until you address a couple of fundamental issues, we're not going to get there. And right now, one of those issues is parole. The administration uses humanitarian parole to release, you know, literally hundreds of thousands of people in this country. In December, it was over 300,000, which is a new record. It was a record. There was a record 85%. Day in December. Yeah, record month and record year. And there have been 3 record years in a row now of people coming across this border, being apprehended, trying to get here illegally. And then the gotaways, which last year numbered somewhere on the order of 670,000. So imagine the composition of the people who are able to evade our border officials as they're trying to get into this country. This is a train wreck.
It's pretty amazing when
It is.
we watch, I'm sorry, we see people literally climbing over the fence on live television, and they seem to have no hesitation about doing it. They're not running away. They're not afraid that, you know, being on camera might make them caught in the act of doing anything wrong. So it's really stunning, the brazenness with which we watch people coming through, because they have no hesitation. They're not worried. They know 85% of them, the odds are excellent. They're going to get into the country and stay here for a good long time. Senator, I thank you very much for joining us.
And it's really,
on
it's
this
really
border and
staggering that
funding
they
issue.
admit that. Yeah, it's really staggering that they actually admit that. I mean, it is. It's an open border. It's got to be fixed. It's got to be fixed now.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thanks, Martha.
Senator John Thune. Always good to see you, sir. Many thanks.